This is wool, just fluff, loose fibers with no strength at all. I can literally pull it apart with no trouble at all. But watch this. Add a little bit of twist, even just with my own two hands, and it becomes yarn, strong enough to weave sails, knit sweaters, and quite literally clothe civilization for thousands of years. Today I'm going to show you exactly how hand spinning works, how to actually do it, including plying and setting your twist. Plus, we're going to talk fibers. We'll break down the different types of spinning wheels so that you know what to look for when you buy your spinning wheel. And stick around because the biggest spinning event of the year, Tour de Fleece, kicks off this week. Welcome back, Naughty Knitters. I'm Tanya, also known as A Naughty Knitter on both Instagram and Ravelry, and you have found your way to the French knot. This is my little corner of the internet where we love to talk about all the knitty, yarny, fibery topics. I come to you from Corriedale, Idaho, where I live with Mr. Knot and our 3 French bulldogs, who also serve as our producers, and you may hear some snoring in the background. So, hand spinning is really just the craft of turning this loose fiber into continuous yarn using twist. That's really it. Every yarn in your stash, every t-shirt you own, at some point the fibers got twisted together, and that's what gives them their strength. Humans have been doing this for at least 20,000 years. First with nothing but their hands and a stick, then drop spindles, and eventually the spinning wheel showed up and changed everything. So here's the physics in one sentence. Individual fibers are weak, but when you twist them around each other, friction locks them together, and the more they try to pull apart, the harder they grip together. Twist is the glue. So see how this is pulling apart? Now, if I just put a little twist in it, all of a sudden, it's strong. And the more twist you have, the stronger it gets. If I add more twist, here, let's add some more twist, just with my fingers, then I can no longer pull it apart. So 2 things are going to determine what your yarn becomes. Number 1, how much fiber you let into the twist. That's your thickness, or your grist, they call it. And secondarily, how much twist you add. The more twist, like I said, is stronger, denser, sometimes more wiry. Less twist often means softer, lofter, but more delicate yarn. Everything else in spinning, every technique, every tool, is just a way of controlling those 2 variables. Now, why would you want to spin your own yarn? Fair question, because yarn stores exist, right? The internet exists, right? Why on earth would somebody want to make their own yarn in 2026? I mean, we have yarn. Do we really need to make our own? But look at this. Well, let me give you the honest answers. And the first one surprises people. It's not about saving money. Let's get that out of the way. Between fiber, equipment, handspun actually costs more than commercial yarn. In dollars anyway. If cheap yarn is the goal, big box stores win every time. Spinning is worth it for entirely different reasons. When you spin, you decide everything. The fiber, the thickness, the twist, the color blending, number of plies, the texture. Want a yarn that's 60% BFL, 20% silk, 20% alpaca, in a gradient that doesn't exist anywhere on the market, in exactly the weight your pattern needs? You can just make it. Hand spinners are never limited to what's on the shelf. You become the yarn store. And it's genuinely meditative. Spinning is rhythmic, repetitive, tactile. You treadle, draft, release over and over. It occupies your hands just enough to quiet your head. A lot of spinners describe it as moving meditation. And there's a reason people reach for their wheels after hard days. It's cheaper than therapy, and you get a sweater out of it. Mostly kidding. Keep your therapist. But it also makes you better at every other fiber craft. So once you've made yarn, you start to understand yarn on a deeper level. You know why that loose spun single pills, why 3-ply cables show better, why superwash behaves differently. Knitters, crocheters, and weavers who learn to spin consistently say it changed how they chose and used their yarn forever. Another reason to spin is connection, both to history and to people. When you spin, you're doing the exact thing someone's hands did 10,000 years ago. There's something quietly profound about that. And the modern spinning community, guilds, fiber festivals, Ravelry, events like the Tour de Fleece, we'll talk about that later. It's one of the warmest corners of the craft world. Another reason, sustainability and slow fashion. Spinning lets you buy fleece from the farm, right down the road, support small flocks and rare breeds, and know exactly where your sweater came from. You know the animal, you know the farm, you know it all. It's all about the transparent supply chain that exists. You are the supply chain. So, control, calm, craft knowledge, connection, conscience. If any one of those lit you up, good. Let's look at the machine that makes it happen. All right, so we are going to start with a quick tour of my shacked sidekick, which is my treadle spinning wheel. It is a castle style. So first off, we have the drive wheel. And so that is this little baby right here. So that's what the treadles move. That's your drive wheel. And then we have the flyer. That is this U-shaped noggin up here that is moved by moving the drive wheel. See how the drive wheel moves your flywheel. And then we have the bobbin, of course, right here. That's where the yarn is going to go. And then we have the orifice. This is where the wool goes through. The wool goes through the orifice onto the bobbin. And then we have the tension system right here. That is controlled right here by this little knob. Tighter tension will create more pull on your fiber onto the bobbin. Looser tension will decrease that. So here we have the bobbin. And on the bobbin, I have a lead. Now, this lead needs to hook onto the flywheel. This is the flywheel. And on that flywheel, we have some hooks on this particular model. This is the shacked sidekick. And it's a castle type spinning wheel. This is the orifice. This is where that lead is going to come through, and eventually the fiber is going to feed into this. This is the drive wheel, and we use the treadles to move the drive wheel. See, the drive wheel is moving, and as the drive wheel moves, it is moving the flywheel. The tension for this is right here. This is the tension, and to make that looser or tighter, you just move this right here. And what the tension does is it adjusts how hard the wheel is pulling your fiber in. All right, so we have the bobbin, we have the flywheel, we have the drive wheel, we have the treadles down here, and then we have the tension right here. That is the basics of any spinning wheel. You treadle, the drive wheel spins the fiber, the flyer twists the fiber, and the tension system winds the twisted yarn onto the bobbin. Your hands control how much fiber you feed in, and your feet control how fast the twist enters. Your job is to coordinate it all. And honestly, coordination is the learning curve on this. All right, let's actually spin. I'm using a prepared wool roving. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is to pre-draft the fiber. So pre-drafting is just kind of gently preparing the wool roving. The process to pre-draft is just gently pulling that roving lengthwise. Just gently attenuate it. You pull it slightly thinner than its actual length. Just a little bit. You're not pulling it apart, just loosening it so it drafts a little easier. Think of it like stretching taffy. So how far apart should you hold your hands? So the way you have to determine that is via your staple length. And how do you determine that? You pull your yarn apart. There's one. And now you pull this. Figure out where you can pull. There we go. So there's a staple length. So between that, you can't pull anymore. So that is how far apart your cans kind of need to be when you're drafting in order to get fiber. And if you need a visual, some people will just lay this on their lap and keep track of it that way. But that is how you figure out the staple length. Now I've already attached a leader here, and that is what we're going to draft the fiber onto. And then you thread that through a hook of the flywheel, and then you use your orifice hook to thread that through the orifice to get ready to spin. There we go. And we're ready to spin. We're going to go ahead and get it spinning. And then you pinch, pull, release. Pinch, pull, release. Pinch, pull back, release. Pinch, pull back, release. You kind of want to start slower in the beginning when you kind of get your feel about you. Beginners want to go too quick, and you're just going to end up with a mess if you do that. You want to be slow and deliberate. If you treadle too fast, these twists are going to pile up, and the yarn is going to turn into a corkscrew. And that is not the kind of yarn you want to knit with, for sure. So you pinch, pull back, release. Pinch, pull back, release. See how easy that is? That is spinning. That is all there is to it. And pull, release. Pinch, pull, release. This is called the forward draft method, or the inchworm, because you're just inching your way through the fiber. The idea here is a demo, not perfection. I'm not trying to make this any particular thickness, or I'm not trying to make a DK weight yarn or anything like that. I'm just trying to show you the process. And then when you look at there it is. There's the single ply, plying up there. Now you see it's starting to build up here. So what you do next is you just move it over to the next hook and then keep going. Pinch, pull, release. Pinch, pull, release. Inching your way through the fiber. Now, later, after you've mastered the art of the forward draw or the inchworm, you can learn what's called the long draw technique. This is a gorgeous, fast, one-hand technique for a woolen style yarn. But guys, we're gonna walk before we run. So we're just gonna stick with the forward draw for today. Or the short draw, however you wanna think of it. And here's a permission slip, you guys. Your first yarn is going to be lumpy. That's not failure. That's art yarn. Every first spinner skein looks like it survived something. Keep it. You're gonna treasure it, all right? All right, let's do some troubleshooting. Some little quick hits here. So what if your yarn keeps breaking? That means I didn't add enough twist, okay? So I need to slow down and let more twist into the fiber before I let it go onto my wheel, all right? So we're gonna add more twist. What if I start getting little pigtails or little corkscrews like this? Can you see that? See how corkscrew? Right there is a little corkscrew. That means I let too much twist in. And in order to combat that, I need to slow down my treadling or draft faster. So if you're a beginner, probably slow down your treadling. What if the yarn is just getting yanked out of your hands? Well, that means you probably have too much tension on the wheel, and you can just turn that down and it'll slow down the pulling. And then if your yarn isn't taking up at all, you might have your tension too loose, or your yarn might have gotten caught on one of these flywheel hooks. So that can happen, especially if it's starting to get kind of kinky. In that short bit of time, guys, look what we did. We made yarn. Actually, we made a single. Making yarn usually involves plying. What we made was just a single, one strand of twisted fiber. I mean, singles are usable, but they're unbalanced. All that twist energy wants to go somewhere. So they bias if you knit them, and they'll kink. So what's the fix to that? Plying. We just did an S twist, which means counterclockwise. We combine two of those and then we twist it clockwise to balance it. Plying means twisting two or more singles together in the opposite direction that you spun your single. If you spin clockwise, that's a Z twist. Counterclockwise is an S twist. So the opposing twists are going to balance each other out, giving you a balanced yarn that hangs straight, wears better, is stronger and rounder than any single. How do you ply? You fill two bobbins with singles, and then you put both of your bobbins on a lazy Kate, a rack that holds them so that they wind smoothly, and then tie both singles to your leader, and then you reverse your treadling direction. We were just going counterclockwise, so to ply, we would go clockwise. You hold both strands with light, even tension, and let the yarn marry together. Feed them onto the bobbin and repeat over and over. Plying is honestly relaxing. The hard work is done. The singles were the hard work, but the plying is where you get to watch your yarn become yarn. And every once in a while, you're going to want to do a quick balance check. You pull out a length of the fresh ply, let it hang in a loop, and if it hangs open and relaxed, it's balanced. If it twists back on itself, you're going to want to adjust your ply, either a little bit more twist or a little less twist, because you want a balanced yarn. A little bit of residual energy is okay, because when you set it, that will handle that, but you don't want too much. There's several ways you can ply. You can do a 2-ply, which is holding 2 strands of singles together. You can do a 3-ply, holding 3 singles together. That's really good for rounder yarns that are great for cables or socks because they give more strength. And there's also chain plying, which makes a 3-ply from one bobbin. And that's more advanced, but I just wanted to let you know that there are more advanced options available. And then next, we set the twist. Your yarn is spun. It's plied, but it isn't finished. Setting the twist is like blocking your knitting. It relaxes the fibers into their new twisted life, and it makes the yarn behave. So you're going to want to wind that yarn into a skein, and I use a nitty knotty. Some people will use the back of a chair. Once you get it all wound up, tie it loosely in 4 places with figure-8 ties. Then soak it in warm water with a drop of wool wash for 20 to 30 minutes. Don't agitate it, unless you might accidentally felt it. Don't do that. But when it's done soaking, you squeeze the water out, press it, don't wring it. Just squeeze the water out, roll it in a towel, stomp it. I put mine in my spin dryer, my Panda spin dryer, which works great. Then you take it out and you snap it. Take a couple good snaps. That just helps to even out the twist. Then you hang it to dry. They used to say to hang weights on your yarn. That was old advice. Don't do that. A couple of things happens here. Number one, you hide the twist problems until it's too late. So think about this. It's the yarn's unbalanced. It's twisted. And you stretch it out. And then you skein it up and you knit it. And then you go to block it and you re-wet it. All that twist is going to come back into the yarn. And it's going to go into your finished garment. And it's not going to be good. So let the yarn tell you the truth right from the start. And then once it's dry, that's it. Real, finished, honest to goodness, hand spun yarn made by you. Isn't that fun? Maybe go ahead and sniff it. We all do that. Here's a couple of examples of my recent hand spun. So here's a combo spin using 2 different colored braids spun together. And it's a Merino Polworth. One is Merino, one is Polworth. And they were spun together. So that's beautiful. I think this is 2 Merinos. It was 2 braids of Merino. They were the same colors. So that's called a fractal spin. Oh, look how pretty that is. This one is also a fractal spin. This is a silk BFL blend by River Rat Yarns. Isn't that pretty? How fun, right? So that gets into fibers. What type of fiber should you spin? Because guys, fiber choice changes everything. Here's a field guide. So, wool is the gateway fiber. Wool has crimp, natural waviness that makes the fibers grab each other. It's forgiving, elastic, warm, but wool isn't just one thing. There's lots of different kinds of wool. We have Corriedale, Romney. Those are medium wools with a little bit longer staple length, really good for beginners. Probably the best for beginners, I would say. It's grippy, affordable, forgiving, all the things that we love. Merino is famously soft and next to skin lovely, but it has fine, short fibers that are kind of slippery. And beginners will often struggle with it, so I would save it for a few skeins in, not your first one. And then we have BFL, or Blue Face Luster. That's kind of the sweet spot. It's soft and easy to spin, has gorgeous luster, and it's probably a good one for a first spin. Probably not as easy as Corriedale and Romney, but doable. And then we have the long wools, Wensleydale, Lincolns, shiny, strong, drapey, great for outerwear, less so for a neck scarf. Then we have Alpaca. Alpaca is soft and warmer than wool, has no lanolin, hypoallergenic for most people, but no crimp, no elasticity. So it's slippery to spin, and finished garments can grow and sag. So it's probably better blended with wool to give you both softness plus structure, and probably not great for a first spin. All right, and then we have silk. Silk is impossibly strong, has brilliant luster. Remember I showed you how beautiful that luster is in that silk? Takes dye like a dream, but it's slippery and kind of grabby in the wrong ways. It clings to every rough spot on your hands. It's really considered an intermediate fiber, but when you do blend it with merino, it gives you that shine and it is gorgeous. Cotton is breathable. It's a cool plant-based fiber, but the staple is short. It's under an inch, so it's going to need a lot of twist and really fast spinning. It's traditionally spun on a chakra or a supported spindle. Respect to cotton spinners. This is expert mode. And then we have the flax and linen, which is strong, cool. It gets softer with washing. It'll last a long time. It's very durable. But you need to spin it wet. And so spinners will keep water handy to moisten their fingers, and it has zero stretch. It's ancient, beautiful, and a whole discipline of its own. And then we have blends. I think blends are where fiber gets fun. Wool and silk, where you get the shine plus the bounce. Wool alpaca for softness plus memory. Wool nylon. Here's a wool and nylon blend for socks that survive. So the bottom line is start with Corriedale or BFL, maybe Romney. It has a 3 to 5 inch staple. Start with a well-prepared roving or top. Do not learn on your beautiful hand-dyed merino braid. That's going to wait for you. Put it aside. Let's talk a little bit more about the spinning wheel. The pros and cons of each are. There is no best wheel. There's the wheel best for you, your space and your budget. That's what it comes down to. We have the fairy tale wheel. It's that big wheel. It's like the Rumpelstiltskin wheel with a huge wheel beside the fly. It has an angled table, very sleeping beauty, Rumpelstiltskin. What are the pros of this? Well, it's smooth, very efficient treadling, has a large drive wheel to give good momentum. They're beautiful heirloom pieces, often available secondhand. What are the cons? Well, I would say a huge footprint. They are not portable. They're antiques, and so they might need restoration. Be careful, because some antiques are decorative fakes that have never spun a thing. They're just for decoration, so buyer beware. Know what you're looking at. Castle wheels. So a castle wheel has a vertical design. Think flyer above the drive wheel. Think the Ashford, Lendrum, Magicraft. Some pros. Compact footprint. Usually have a double treadle, which is easier on the body. They come with many modern, feature-rich designs. Some will even fold for travel. Some of the cons: often a smaller drive wheel can mean more treadling effort. Taller units can feel a little tippy. Less of that romantic vibe, if that matters to you. The next category is modern or travel wheels. These are purpose-built portables. For instance, mine is the Shack Sidekick. It folds up. It can fit in a car. It can even fit under a plane seat. It's great for guilds, retreats, small apartments. I like the portability. Some of the cons: they often have smaller bobbins, sometimes fewer speed options, and you're paying a premium for the engineering. So I will say, the speed option is real. So the Shack Sidekick has a smaller drive wheel, which means it's going to take more treadles to move the drive wheel. So to get the same amount of spin as you would on a traditional wheel, you need a lot more treadling. And trust me, I've actually broken into a sweat many times treadling on my Shack Sidekick. So buyer beware. You just got to think of these things. And then we have e-spinners. These are motor-driven flyer in a box. We have the eel wheel, Ashford e-spinner, the Daedalus. Now I have a Daedalus Dove. Love it. And I also have the Ashford e-spinner. Love that too. I love them differently though. I feel like the Ashford is more of kind of a workhorse. My Daedalus Dove is a little bit more, what's the word? I feel like I can get a little more precise with it. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just a very even, it's a nice wheel. I've actually went on the wait list for the Daedalus Starling. Some of the things about the Starling that are different: number one, it has a bigger bobbin capacity. That's something I didn't really appreciate when I started spinning. If you're doing a combo spin, it's 2 4-ounce braids. My Daedalus Dove, I'm barely able to get both of those when I'm plying them, able to get the 8 ounces on the Daedalus Dove, ever so barely. And sometimes I don't make it. So that's the advantage of this Starling. You would be able to get the full 8 ounces onto that bobbin. It has a little bit more power than the Daedalus Dove too, which I think would be nice. Sometimes I want to be able to go a little bit faster than what it's able to do. But guys, that Daedalus Dove, it is good. I really like it. Anyway, enough about the Daedalus. The pros of the e-spinner: they're tiny, they're relatively silent, there's no treadling. So it's a genuine game changer for someone with hip knee mobility issues, and it's perfectly consistent speed. You don't have to worry about your feet keeping on exact beat, basically, to keep it spinning. So I think it's really good for beginners because you're not having to learn both things at once. You can really focus on just learning the drafting instead of learning the drafting and the treadling at the same time. So for me, I started with the e-spinner, but when I got going on my treadle, it was kind of like patting my head and rubbing my belly at the same time. It was kind of a lot. So I think it's a little easier to learn on. That would be a pro to me. Portability, hands down, easiest for portability. If you just get a little portable charger, you can literally take it anywhere. I've taken it to our knitting group at Panera with its little charger, and I can spin on a tabletop. So I do love that. Cons: it needs power or a battery. One of the cons is there's no treadling rhythm. So that's also a pro, right? I said not having to treadle is a pro, but it's also a con because sometimes that's part of the meditative experience. And so it feels less craft ritual and more appliance. So it kind of depends on what you're going for. But I think for a beginner, it's wonderful. I would not discourage anybody from getting an e-spinner. You are still spinning. And then finally, drop spindle. This is a great starting point, guys. It's not a wheel, but hear me out. $15 to $30 teaches you drafting, twist management, better than any wheel. It fits in a bag. And if you hate spinning, you're only out about the cost of a pizza. Many of the best spinners started here. And if budget is tight, start with a spindle and 8 ounces of Corriedale. That's a whole starter kit. Some buying advice: try before you buy. Fiber festivals, guilds, shops. Go to your local yarn shop. They're going to let you test drive these machines. And wheels do fit bodies differently. When I did get my treadle wheel. I went into Paradise Fibers and I spent several hours there working with one of the owners before I decided on which one I wanted. And I was really glad to have done that. I don't regret my decision because I bought it with a purpose. I wanted it to be portable. I got what I wanted. Now, I can't say that I might not buy another in the future. And if I were to buy another one, it would probably be another shacked. Probably be the full-size shack, the matchless, because of the bigger drive wheel. And it also has a double drive. So you can have Scotch tension or Irish tension mode. So that would be also something that would be of interest to me. But I'm not disappointed in my choice. Does that make sense? Now, used wheels are great, but stick to known makers, Ashford, Shacked, Lendrum, Krumsky, and confirm that all parts are present. Because flyers and bobbins are expensive to replace. Think about the double versus single treadle, because double treadle is kinder to your body for long sessions. And then budget reality check. Expect to pay for this. So used, you could probably pick up one for $300 to $600 used. New, we're talking $600 to $1,200 or more for a new one. For a good e-spinner, it's going to be hundreds. The Dove, I think, retails for around $399, and I think that's a really good starting point, but it's still not cheap, so understand. So maybe you're thinking, okay, I'm intrigued, but I need a push. Here's your push. Tour de Fleece starts July 4th, guys. So excited. If you've never heard of it, Tour de Fleece is a worldwide spin-along that runs alongside the Tour de France. The idea is beautifully simple. When they spin, we spin. Every day the cyclists ride, spinners around the world sit down at their wheels, spindles, and make yarn. It started back in 2006 with a handful of spinners on a blog, and it's grown into one of the biggest events in the fiber community. Here's how it works. The tour runs July 4th through July 26th, 3 weeks of daily spinning. The rest days are July 13th and 20th. When the cyclists rest, you rest. The challenge days are July 12th and 19th. These are the brutal mountain stages on the Tour de France. On those days, spinners push themselves, try a new technique, spin longer, tackle that intimidating fiber. Totally optional and delightfully unhinged. And if you catch the bug, Tour de Fleece Femmes follows along with the women's race August 1st through the 9th, a victory lap. Now here's what I love most about it. It's not a competition. There's no winner. You set your own goal. And it can be anything. Spin 15 minutes a day. Finally ply those bobbins that have been sitting there judging you. Empty some stash. Learn long draw. Or if you're brand new, your goal can totally be literally learn to spin. The tour is one of the best times all year to start because thousands of spinners are online every day sharing progress, answering questions, and cheering on beginners. You can join a team through Ravelry on Facebook. Lots of yarn shops, guilds, and dyers host them, and even do some prizes. And guys, we also have a channel on the Discord group dedicated to the Tour de Fleece. Links down below for the Discord group. Get in there today. Or you can fly solo and post your progress through hashtag Tour de Fleece or TDF 2026. Some spinners wear yellow on your best day. Polka dots when it's been an uphill battle. White if you're a rookie. It's silly, but it's wonderful. So here's my challenge to you. Grab a spindle or a wheel, get some Corriedale, and spin with us starting July 4th. 15 minutes a day for 3 weeks. By the end of the tour, you won't have just tried spinning. You'll be a spinner. Drop a comment, tag me in your posts. I'll be spinning every stage right along with you. And I'm going to be posting my progress in the Discord group. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my plans for the Tour de Fleece. I plan to do a special spin. So I've been planning this spin for months. The idea kind of came to me when Yarn Jam released their Podcaster 2.0 collection of fibers that for different podcasts. So They had 5 podcasters that they highlighted. And so I thought, oh, that would be really fun to spin those 5 fibers and maybe make something out of it, right? But then I thought, well, what am I going to make? So I found the inclinations shawl. Beautiful. But that required 6 different colors. You could do it with 5, but hear me out. I was like, well, what would I do for the 6th one? I thought, oh, I have an idea. Stacy has my favorite fiber, and she has renamed it. It's supposed to be called, I'm going to get this wrong. It's supposed to be called Impatience, but she added AKA Tanya's Obsession. So that's kind of, I consider that my fiber because I can never get the name right. Anyway, and I love the colors. So I bought one of each of the yarn jam of the podcasters. I'll show you those. And these are all Shanico. Okay. Graceful Blooms is Knit and Grace. Look how pretty that is. And then we have, I want to get these right, Starlit Forge, which is Stitches in Starlight. Very pretty. And then we have Winter Pines, which is the Botanical Knitter. And then I have the Big Sis Energy from Table 10, along with Little Sis Energy from the Table 10. So this is Rachel and this is Renee. Impatience by River Rat Yarn, aka My Obsession. And that's in a Rambouillet. So Shanico is like a Merino Rambouillet cross, and so it's close. It's close. And so I'm going to knit up these 6 braids and ply them for the Tour de Fleece. So that's a lot. That's a lot of fiber. But then my goal is to be getting knitting on it for the Tour de Femme. We will see. And then I have an additional goal. Yeah, I know. Lofty goals, Tanya, lofty goals. But I have a fleece that Mr. Knot bought me. It's a Suffolk Frisian blend. That particular sheep, her name was Mandy. She's no longer with us, and I happen to have her last fleece. So it's special. And so my idea is, during Tour de Fleece, my hope is to get that processed as well. And hopefully be able to vlog it so you can see it as well. That's my goals for the Tour de Fleece. What are your goals? Let me know what your goals are. So, guys, that's hand spinning. Twist turns fluff into yarn. Plying makes it balanced and strong, and a warm bath sets it for life. Start with forgiving wool, start slow, and let your first skein be gloriously lumpy. Ideally by July 4th so that you can join the Peloton. So guys, if this helped you, hit the like and subscribe. I've got videos coming all month long with my progress, including processing the fleece, hopefully. But until then, keep your twist balanced and your fiber close. And happy spinning!